Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello and welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I'm so excited for you guys to meet my very next guest. I have virtually in front of me Christine Rubio. She is a chef and a sports nutritionist, and she is a wealth of knowledge. And I'm super excited for today's conversation. Before we get into it, I would love, Christine, for you to just introduce yourself by sharing who you are, what you do, and most importantly, why you do what you do.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is, like she said, Christine Rubio. I'm a private chef and sports nutrition specialist. I do what I do, honestly, because I love learning about things that are interesting and fascinating. Most people probably don't associate that with food. Maybe they say, oh, you're a chef, you like to eat a lot. I mean, which is also true. But in the realm of food, there's just so much to learn and it never gets boring. And I like that. I don't want to have a job feel like a job. So, working with food and working with a lot of different people in different cultures, it's very interesting to me. Keeps the day fresh, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And did you grow up playing sports? Like, what got you into specifically like helping people like fuel their workouts and stuff like that, rather than just like general nutrition for healthy eating?
Yes. Well, I grew up not really wanting to do sports that were available in high school. So I took martial arts. I did Taekwondo as a kid, and I really loved it. I loved that also goes into like the challenging aspect that you find in food and like high level cooking. So anything that's hard, I try to want to master that. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not, but it's always just like, hey, I didn't get it yet. I want to try again. So I find that to be the case with me when it comes to combat sports. So martial arts is definitely the thing for me.
That's so cool. I love it. And I feel like when I was struggling like with my relationship with food, I played sports a lot. And so when I was younger, I didn't really pay attention to my nutrition. Then when I decided like, no, I want to lose weight, I want to get better on the basketball court, like whatever it is, I started to shift the way that I, looked at food. And unfortunately, instead of just like making small changes here and there, I really went to the extreme and I was like, oh no, food is fuel and food is only fuel. Like, so if I wanted to enjoy food, well, no, it doesn't fit because right now I'm not about to go work out. So therefore I can't have carbohydrates right now. Or, it'd be out and it's like, basically flavor made me feel like I was like, quote unquote cheating, so I'm curious, like what you've come across, because I know you do a really great job of like helping people use food as fuel, but also an experience. Like, how does one kind of make those mesh?
Well, it really comes down to, and you talk about this a lot, intuitive eating. That's when food as an experience comes into play. So if you say food is an experience, maybe as a chef, I can think of like textures and how something is crunchy and something is smooth and velvety. But as just a normal human being who likes to eat, I think of the words, don't rush it. So food experience, so don't rush it. So that comes to like things at home. I honestly don't have a microwave. I don't know when the last time I used a microwave. Why? Because I'm not trying to rush the experience. I know it's hard to do, especially in busy cities like New York, LA. You need things like that. And that's fine. There's a place for that. But when you prioritize experiencing your food in a present state, meaning turn the oven on, click preheat on the oven, let it wait till it heats, so then put your food in. In the meantime, get your stove ready. Like all of these things, it's a process. And you're also showing respect to the food. This is a lot of like chef talk here. We talk, you hear a lot about this in New York a lot with the local farms and sustainability. So showing respect to the food, not just throwing it in something and just letting it get hot or cooking it twice. I have a big pet peeve of like reheating. So disclaimer, reheating is to get your food hot. It's already cooked. You don't need to cook it twice. So that means you're not blasting anything in the oven for 30 minutes. It's already cooked. So gently reheat your food. And it's a process. That's not rushing it. And present. So it's hard to do. I'm victim of this at times too, but I shouldn't have my phone. We should be present with our family and friends and have a communication. Like it's a time for connection. When you have food on a plate, it's in front of you and you're at a table, even if it's you and your pet at home, like spend time together.
100%. No, I mean, I completely agree. And it's hard. You're right. Like it's hard. I recently just started taking real estate classes to get my real estate license. It's basically a 75-hour course. I am on Zoom from Monday through Thursday from 6 to 9 at night after a whole day of working and trying to, get my business up and going and it just like, and then like trying to live my life like a human. So like I'm in that season right now, which I understand it's a season for me. Like, and I know like with athletes, right, we have our seasons, right? And the season is kind of hustle mode right now, which it's been a minute since I've been in that. And so I've noticed that on the weeks that I take some time to prep, like maybe on like Sunday or even Monday before the whole busyness starts, I'm actually able to then sit and eat and enjoy. But if I don't even do that prep work, then I'm doing exactly what you just described. It's really hard to I'm kind of reheating things. I'm kind of all over the place. I'm just very scattered. And there's a huge difference in my energy and my mood on the weeks that I'm well prepared versus the weeks where I'm scrambling.
Yes. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that. Take a restaurant setting. Wow, this looks great. This bowl of, whatever, this filet mignon and some potatoes. It looks amazing. But how long did it take to prep that one dish? Mm-hmm. So it's all prep and planning. That goes for athletic training. That goes for food. That goes for restaurant work, private chef work, and your nutrition. There's so much more planning. It's that's the stuff that you don't really learn so much in school, whether it's in nutrition or in the field of culinary. It's like everyone wants to dive right into how do I, clean a rack of lamb, and how do I understand what macronutrients are, what are those things? It's yes, you'll get there, but if you can't plan right, you'll never even be able to grasp the concept and then execute it to help other people.
Mm-hmm. Totally. So, one thing that I wanted definitely to ask is because kind of going back on this food is fuel versus food is an experience. And you're saying it could be both. I think when people think of eating healthy or eating healthier or fueling for their workouts or whatever it is, they think of food as kind of bland and boring. So you're saying add some texture, add some, what are some other ways that we can make our healthier or more nutritious food also taste good and not be so boring? What are some of your main tips?
I would say number one, variety. And you probably hear this a lot too, and you can read up on articles about this, but pick something that you really like. Let's say you're really into quinoa. Quinoa is a grain. Great. What other grains are out there? Farro, barley, freekeh is a really cool one.
Mm-hmm. I haven't cooked with that yet.
So it's try all of these other things and you'll get different textures from them. Freekeh, smoky. Just the way they process, they kind of burn off the skin off the grain. So it has a smoky element to it that you don't get in quinoa. So just trying to find out other types of foods that I like, what other varieties are out there. And in the world of food, there's so many. I probably haven't even touched the surface on them. So even so many different kinds. There's heirloom eggs you can get that they have a blue and green shell on the outside. It's wild. There's duck eggs.
Did you say heirloom eggs?
Yes, it's a real thing. Look at it.
Okay, no, I believe you. I just never heard, or maybe I've heard of them or saw them, but never cooked with them, obviously. Do they taste different than regular eggs? They're from a chicken? What is it from?
They're eggs. They're chicken eggs. And definitely if you buy, and this is a fun experiment to do with kids, to even explore how food can change based on where it's coming from. But if you buy a regular white egg and you crack that open into a clean bowl, and you buy a free range brown egg and you crack that open, there's a big difference in the yolk. The color is different. It cracks differently. The shell is stronger. It's just way different. So the flavors are stronger because it's a better quality egg. And and it's just cool to see. And then it helps, especially I love this with kids because it helps them to understand the importance of knowing where your food comes from.
Yeah, for sure. I think getting kids in the kitchen is always helpful, especially if you have a kid who struggles with eating their fruits or veggies or just eating enough or just, eating the food that you cook instead of just wanting a peanut butter and jelly. Like they're going to probably eat it more if you cook it with them.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. My oldest son is like really picky. And sometimes I want to tell him like, I'm a chef, right? Like
it's always when they're in your family, they just like don't listen to you as much. But like if your kid's like friend's mom was a chef and like said the same exact thing, somehow it would translate.
Yeah.
But because it's mom. It's like, no, mom.
I'm like, come on. It is get children to try something different. But I've told my kids, like, and this is a rule of thumb for adults as well. If you try something, try it twice. The first time you try something, whether it's wine or different types of chocolate or whatever, it's always a shock to your senses and your taste buds because it's new. So you can't say, oh, I like it. I don't like it. No, you literally just tried it. Like you have to allow your brain to process what it is that you're trying. What's the texture? What's the flavor? Like, is it smooth? Is it spicy? All of these things come into play. Try it again. And the second time you can give your opinion. Oh, I think I like it. I'm not too sure. Let me try it. That's usually me. I'll try like 4 times.
Yeah. And there's so many things that you can do going back to variety. Like there's so many things you can't. I think a lot of people are just like, I don't like quinoa. Well, maybe you never maybe you just cooked it with water. Like maybe you need to try it with broth, or maybe you need to like sprinkle some cheese on top, or I don't know. Like what do you got? Maybe you got to do something to it to make it a little bit more exciting, but don't just like say, oh, I don't like it because you had it one way. Maybe you had it hot, but you never had it cold in like a salad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most people I found, if they don't like something, it's usually because it was prepared wrong. So I'll get like a friend of mine that I don't like octopus. And I was just like, why? He was like, it was like hard to chew. I'm like, that's because
it wasn't cooked correctly. Oh my God. I'm obsessed. And so me and my boyfriend, like we have this thing where no matter what restaurant we go, if octopus is on the menu, we get it. And then we rate them like, because they're like obsessed. It's like our go-to appetizer. And more recently, I actually wasn't with him. I was with my sister and like a friend another time, whatever. And like, came burnt. And I asked them, I said, is this like, can we get, I'm not one to like ask for them to send it back. Never. As much as like, I think food is great. Like, but I was like, you spend like $22 on an octopus for an appetizer. That's like, you guys can't see but it's like maybe a foot long. Like it's not long at all or less than that. And then, so I was like, okay, this is definitely burnt. Like, do you think we can get a new one? Like, they're like, yeah, sure. They come back, smaller one, still burnt. I'm like, okay, now I'm upset. Now I'm really upset because I used to be obsessed with octopus and it used to be the thing I would get all the time. And now I'm like a little hesitant to order it because I just feel like the restaurants something happened. Things are going real well in the food industry. And and I understand they got a hit during the pandemic and everything. But just the food, just for certain restaurants, just not as good as it used to be, I feel like. I don't know. But so let's talk about fueling for athletes. And when we say athletes, guys, I think Christine, when we did that live together, you did a really great job kind of explaining like when you think of an athlete, like what do you think of when you're saying that you cook for your athletes? Who are you cooking for specifically?
Well, most people will say, oh, I'm not a football player, I'm not a beach volleyball player. And yes, those are elite athletes. When we in the nutrition space, especially the sports nutrition space, say an athlete, we're talking about someone who makes their living off of this sport. So it is what they do day in and day out. They breathe and live to make sure that they win games, they win competitions. But in real life, we have to still get through our day to day. So, I would describe an athlete sometimes as a mom with 3 toddlers, an EMT worker, a firefighter. They have physically demanding jobs, cooks, people in restaurants. It's always down the stairs, carrying heavy objects. So functional fitness and how you fuel and recover properly for that, it's really important for, general population.
Yeah, for sure. So basically it could be for anybody that's active. Basically, when you think of an athlete, you're thinking anybody who's active. So, and they're probably have a very busy schedule, right? So let's go back to what we were talking about earlier of how important it is to kind of make food an experience and to prepare it. But what about someone who is really struggling with time? What are some of your pointers for someone how can they fit this into their daily schedule routine?
When it comes to time, it's always, you hear that saying of well, there's always time, you got to make time. And if you prioritize your nutrition, especially as an athlete, and now we can go into the space of like elite level athletes, fighters, football players, they have to make that time. It's not an option for them to be like, well, I'll just skip breakfast, because think about their training is very long. It's sometimes twice a day. So it's not an option anymore. So if you don't have the time, I would encourage you first to switch that mindset. I am prioritizing my nutrition. Another way of saying it is I'm prioritizing my health, and therefore I am going to make the time. And then you literally sit down. I do this all the time. I'm not even a fan of technology, but if I need to, I'll Google Calendar it, but I'll sit down and I'll write out what I need to get done and where can I fit in time to meal prep. And if you can meal prep for 5 days, I think a lot of the meal prep talk here in culture nowadays is an association to 5 days or 7 days. It doesn't have to be. It can be meals to last you 2 days or 3 days. And that way you're actually getting it in. Because if you think, oh man, I got to do 5 days worth of meals or 7 days, you're going to feel so overwhelmed. You're probably going to overbuy all this product, spend a lot of money. Some will go in the freezer. Most of it will go in the trash. And
you get tired of it too. I get tired of food after sometimes I'm all right with it, but I usually do that 2 to 3 days and then another 2 to 3 days. I find that better.
Right. You have to break it up. And if you have the time to do one long, cooking session, then great, do that. And for those who are super busy, honestly, that's when I come into play, and they'll bring me on because I'm basically giving them time. I'm not giving them time.
Yeah. So let's talk about a little bit more about what you do, because I think I need you. I feel like this is perfect timing just until my classes are over. I'm like I'm like on the real struggle bus. I have zero time for and that's the thing, I'm making the time when I can, but yesterday, for example, I literally only had the time to make vegetables, which is great. But then it was like, okay, what can I pull? I think I put frozen meatballs in the freaking air fryer. And I had that with frozen pizza. I was like, I just need some sort of balance here, but I'm really struggling because I'm very stretched thin right now. So I need your help. So how would you help me? What would you do?
I did a meal prep for myself this week. So I'm like, how am I going to get? So what I like to do for me and my home, and this is not and let me just also preface that when I do meal prep for myself, it's usually different from what I'll give my kids. Not that but they're just so bloody picky sometimes.
Well, at least you have yourself taken care of though. But I love that actually, because I think a lot of parents, they all think about all right, let me feed the kids and then worry about me second. No, you're taking action to focus on okay, as long as my stuff is good, then I can focus on them. And at least I know I have something for me. I am interrupting this podcast episode to remind you that you might be interested in purchasing a collagen supplement. So you may have heard all the rage about the power of collagen. And if you haven't listened to episode 368, what you need to know about collagen, I'm strongly going to encourage you to go back and listen to get the full scoop, no pun intended. And I say that because collagen is a supplement that you scoop out and add to your water. So, or you could add to your coffee, whatever it is. But the collagen that I wanted to recommend for you is actually flavored that you do mix in your water, and it's from Thorne. And Thorne is a supplement company that I trust. Everything is tested by a third party. So therefore you can believe whatever it says is inside is actually inside. So I actually love the flavor. It's a really great thing to add to your water, like I said, especially right before a workout to hydrate yourself, especially if you do high intensity interval training or any sort of jumping and lunging and running. You are definitely going to benefit from incorporating collagen in your daily regimen. So if you haven't checked out the Thorne supplement, the collagen Thorne supplement, I highly, highly encourage you to go check it out. I will leave the link in my show notes, and with my discount, you get 20% off. So if you haven't tried it yet, I strongly encourage you to go to the link in my show notes and order yours today. Now, back to the episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's been times where I meal prepped for myself and I had to do some meal prep for clients, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't cook for the kids.
Kids are fine. They're resilient. They could have frozen chicken nuggets for a little bit while some cereal.
And at a point in my house, then you get what you get and you don't get upset. So
yeah, no, that's a good lesson for sure. Yeah, I know. I catch myself because I have she's like a stepdaughter to me, basically. She's with us like literally like 90% of the time. So I'm always like, when I catch myself offering her a bazillion things, I'm like, I'm being too nice. It's either this or this. Let me know. If not, you're going to bed hungry.
Are short on time, then you have to apply that to yourself. Well, Tony, it's this or this. I meal prepped vegetables. Great. Let's say you did, I don't know, broccoli, red bell peppers, and onions. You got all of that done. Great. Amazing. But you have nothing else. So I like to have a stock of beans and really good tuna on hand. And that's just, and sometimes you suck it up. It's not a matter of, oh man, I am having tuna twice a week. Like, who cares? You're eating.
You're in hustle mode. Exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It is a season. And, sometimes, especially for athletes, like you said, there's a season, on season, off season. And it's just about getting in calories, because a big thing with athletes is they don't eat enough. And oh my gosh, they don't eat enough. Yes, they need to consume well over 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, something, sometimes even more. So it becomes a matter of mindset. You are getting this in to meet your goal. So if your goal, Tony, for the week is to accomplish all of your real estate and work, tasks, then you just get food in so you can get through your day. So you can meet. If you cannot possibly have so much cognitive function if you're not eating well.
But that's so true. Last night, it's so funny because just the day before, I gave a whole lesson. I went to an elementary school. I taught the elementary school about the importance of, not skipping meals and, having breakfast. So I was like, what happens when you don't have breakfast to all the kids? And they're like, you can't focus on what the teacher's saying. So I was running around all day yesterday. All of a sudden, oh my God, it's 6:00. I have to sit down for class. We get break for literally 15 minutes, sometimes 10. Sometimes we get 2 10-minute breaks in 3.5 hours. It's literal torture, by the way. And so I'm like, okay, I'm probably going to get a break at like 7:30. It's 6:00 now. I'm starving. Like, what was I focusing on the entire time? Not what the instructor was saying, like where I could order in food. And how is it going to, I have to time it perfectly so it gets delivered at the time that I have break. Literally have probably retained 2% of what the instructor said. And now I'm going to have to study double hard to remember that for the exam, because I was so fixated on what to eat, because my brain, I wasn't fueling myself enough during the day because I was running around. And so guys, this is what not to do, by the way. This is everything. But I actually love, like you were saying in the beginning, it really is about like exploring textures and taking time, but also knowing that some seasons in life, as long as it's a season, right? If this is how you're living your life, guys, if I was living this all the time, that's like chronic stress mode. That's like causing a whole lot of issues with your body and your mind. And it's definitely not good sustainably in the long run, because it's temporary. It's like, all right, but it's still not. Like, I'm still looking for ways. Like, I noticed, like I said, the week before, when I had the time to really prep, it was a much smoother week. I was less irritable, I was able to focus more. It's really important to really prioritize it, because it really affects your whole, it's not just your day, like it affects your whole week, because one thing affects the next thing that affects the next thing. It's a lot.
Yeah. Food, nutrition, and athletics. There's like a thread that ties everything together. So when one thing slips, it really does affect the rest. So people, they don't understand, which is unfortunate, that you sometimes just need to suck it up, get food in your system, and keep going. And just make sure that the food that you are choosing is smart, because that's when they'll end up going to like fast food or whatever. So, if you only have, like we were saying,
and then not feeling good because you overeat, or it's like too fried, or, just like not balanced. Yeah.
Not good. I mean, I've definitely been there where I'm starving, but I haven't had fast food in God knows how long, 20 plus years. So I just can't bring my mind to just run into a fast food restaurant and just grab something. I'd rather go, I don't know. I've done like Starbucks, Panera, I've done Chipotle. There's just better choices out there. But what does that mean? Sometimes I have to suck it up for another 10 to 30 minutes to get to that place and order and then finally eat.
or you're spending way more money. Like I know like the amount of food, I mean, it's a convenience, but that's why even like hiring someone to prepare your meals is always going to be a better alternative because it's expensive. My dinner last night, by the time I delivered tax tip, I mean, I have leftovers, but still it was like $40 because I'm in Westchester County. I'm in New York. When you're in New York, like you're spending a shit ton of money on food. It's just what it is, and it's just like that $50 could have gone into my groceries for the week.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's talk about kind of how you do help your clients. So you go to their homes. That's like so cool.
Yeah. So I do a single multi-meal service where I go in their home and they basically get to, well, obviously prior to that, they'll see my menu. They'll pick 5 dishes from there. And we'll talk about it. If there's any like allergies or preferences, all of that fun stuff happens beforehand. And then on the day of service, I go to their home. I'll prepare 10 meals total because you'll pick 5 like dishes and then I'll make 2 of them. So that covers you for 5 days for the week.
Amazing.
And I'll take care of, obviously the prep work and the cooking, but also the grocery shopping and the cleanup. Stress free.
That's amazing. That's literally amazing.
Purchase food from me, they purchase time from me.
No, well, that's exactly it. But that's what it is. If guys, come on, listen, those who are listening to this, like, look at your bank statements. How much money have you spent on those last minute orders because there was nothing prepared, or maybe you didn't like it? Maybe, and listen, I want to encourage you to still get in the kitchen and to try cooking yourself, but maybe that in itself is overwhelming. You don't really know how to flavor your food. You're struggling with making your own food taste good. Like, hire someone to help you. I think a lot of people don't realize like they try to figure it out on their own, but they're wasting precious time and they end up wasting more money in the long run when they just hire an expert to help you figure it out. Or to just do it while you're learning, to take off some of the stress so that you don't have to worry about meals for the whole week. But maybe you can still practice your 1 meal a day or 1 meal a week 1 meal a week or something. But then you can have Christine come in and be like, just take a break for the rest of the week. I got you covered.
You can eat all the food at once. Then it's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. But
yeah, no, definitely.
It's a great service. It's also like just building more connections with people. That's what I really love about food, honestly, because you put it in front of people and you all sit down and you just talk about whatever was happening in your day. And you never know what happens in that conversation, what can organically grow from that. And is a vehicle for that.
Yeah.
And then, in the athletic world, it's obviously viewed a bit differently, but there's no way you should take away that experience because you're using it as fuel. So you come together and sit down and refuel or talk about something not even related to training. It's just a vehicle for communication and connection.
I love that. So before we end today, in your opinion, which activity is harder, eating or training?
Oh, eating, hands down.
Why do you say that?
Because it happens several times a day. If for those elite athletes or have really hard goals and is competing, you have training 2 days. But then that's it. You suck it up for 30 minutes, 60 minutes, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, and then it's over. That's it. But is eating, nutrition, and mind you, nutrition is also about hydrating yourself. So what are you drinking? What are you consuming caloric wise through liquids and your sleep? So it's just so much more in depth, and it takes a long time to see progress, honestly. And a lot of people want to see progress right away, and it's just, you have to learn about your body. How does your food, digest? Do you like this? Do you like that? It's just so much about you. Like, I think when people take nutrition seriously, they learn a lot about themselves, like their character, what they need to work on, what they're really good at. And then you can apply it and realize, wow, nutrition isn't that hard, but it did take a long time for me to finally understand that, right? Shortcut. And so they'll put in the work for 30 minutes, but are they going to be willing to put in the work for every single meal they need to take? And this sometimes can be more than 3. You can start off, right? But, meals are consumption, especially in the sports nutrition world. It talks about snacks. Like that's consumption. We need to talk about that. And also intra nutrition. So what are you consuming during your workout? it's a lot. So that's why people come to people like, myself, who is knowledgeable in this space, and they can help guide them, because, these are athletes. These are people just trying to get through their day and meet their goals. Imagine like them trying to understand, like, the carb take for this long duration of a workout. Like, it's a lot. It's too much. So I would say for sure, nutrition is harder.
Yeah. I mean, that's such a good point, because we eat multiple times a day, or at least we should be eating multiple times a day. And hopefully we're incorporating rest days. So, hopefully you're not exercising every day, 2-a-days, but I know some athletes need to do that. But yeah, no, I mean, it's such a great point. So I guess just to recap, just so we have some tangible things for our listeners, if you could give, let's say, 3 tips of everything from, it could be from meal prep to like fueling your workout to hydrating, whatever it was, what would you say 3 takeaways that our listeners can start implementing in their day to day so that they can feel better, have more energy, or improve their athletic performance?
Okay. Tip number 1, definitely, this is easy, drink more water.
Yay. I love water.
If you find that it's hard to do, and this is a weird thing about myself, but once I realized it was a game changer. I drink more water if it's in a bottle versus me pouring it into a glass from a pitcher. So Amazon, I spent like $10 and I bought 1 gallon big pitcher. I fill it up and I consume the whole gallon.
Wow.
Whatever reason, like this amount left, I don't consume it. I don't know why. I'm like, no.
That's not, you probably don't even need, a lot of people go for the gallon, but not everybody needs a gallon of water. I mean, it's a good goal, but you don't necessarily need it unless it's depending on your activity level and like your height, your weight and everything. But I think that's a good visual aid. And I think, it's helpful. Then, for sure. Whereas like me, sometimes you guys can't see because those who are listening to the podcast, but like sometimes I'll drink out of something like this, like just a regular cup. Sometimes I have like this giant mason jar. Sometimes I have my water bottle. So it's like, I think I do a great job at drinking water. Like that is a good habit I have. Like I really do tend to drink throughout the day. But it's harder for me to keep track of it when I'm drinking out of like, sometimes it's out of a mason jar, sometimes it's out of glass, sometimes it's out of a water bottle. Like, but if you just have that one thing, that's a gallon or a half gallon or whatever it is that you need, you can then easily keep track. Okay, I had 1 of these or I had 2 of these and now I know I had enough water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And very good point that it's about what you need and your activity level. So I know for a half gallon for me, because I actually have a half gallon. So it just wasn't enough. So I was like, you know what? I have to upgrade.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And
especially now that it's getting hotter out.
Yes.
I feel like we're going to need even more because we're going to be sweating a lot.
It's easy to implement and it's water. It's free. We have great water here in New York.
Yeah. Hopefully wherever people are listening from, they also have access to good water. I hope that is a beautiful thing to have delicious water.
I must say. Second is stock your pantry wisely. So that mean it can be canned beans, get the BPA-free lining ones. They're all over the market now. Back in the day, that wasn't the case. So take advantage of that availability. If you need to have them as dry beans, and all you need to do is soak them overnight and cook them in your favorite broth or water, have canned tuna and canned salmon. That's great tips. And I utilize it all the time. And also keep things in your freezer like greens. So frozen mixed vegetables, which is oddly the only vegetable mix that my kids will eat. But I'm like, fine. Carrots.
Whatever, we'll take it.
So keep that in the freezer. It's for yourself. It's for your family. And I like to get fresh spinach. But fun fact, you can always take your fresh spinach, put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in the freezer. So if it's about to go bad, you can still save it. And then that's like smoothies that goes into a pan to saute really quickly to add to your tuna or whatever it is. And, even like really good bottled dressings. Just get the smaller one. You don't need the giant Costco pack. Just get a little something. So that way, when times are tough and you're really busy, you have things. It may not be what you're craving for. It may not be what you want at that moment, but you have fuel that's appropriate and nutritious to get through the day.
Totally. And better than skipping and then overeating, or then the cravings come higher for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
And the last tip, I know this is a bit hard, but try to get it in somehow. Everyone's busy, but 30 minutes of movement minimum. every day. And if you can't meet it every day, then try to start with, just a few days out the week. The more you move, the more your body will want food, and your body will want food that's smart, wise, nutritious, dense food. So the more you move, you're not going to be craving like a corn muffin at 3:00. Like you might be craving like a peanut butter and jelly, which is fine. Wrong with the peanut butter and jelly, things like that. So once you start moving, you'll start seeing changes in the way your body is responding to your movement. Think of physical training as a stimulus, and food is what allows you to maximize the adaptations you're getting in that training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I hear a lot of people say they're not really hungry throughout the day. And I'm like, what's your activity level like? Because I think if we got you moving more, you probably would be hungry or for food. Yeah.
And then when you're sweating a lot or you're doing whatever, it's like, you're like, man, I just did all of this hard work. I don't want to put French fries in my body right now. Like that mentally, it just doesn't click. Even if you're not into like healthy eating all the time, like, it's like how kids know what's right and wrong. Like, you shouldn't have lied. It's the same thing. Like innately, that's not the best decision for you at this time.
Yeah. Well, I think when you feel better, you want to make choices that make you stay feeling good. And that doesn't mean you can't have French fries. You guys know that. It's just a matter of like, you're probably not going to have a ton of them. And you're probably also going to want to have that with like a balanced meal or some salad or vegetables or, something with like protein. You're going to want it to be balanced. You're not going to just only want the French fries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing wrong with fries. Nothing wrong with a lot of things, honestly, but timing is important too. And, that can be a whole nother conversation, but I would stick to those 3 things. And if you can do one of the 3, kudos to you too, because it's hard. It's not like an easy change. If I was living a busy life, I would stay with the water. Honestly, I think it's the easiest one.
Oh, 100%. And it's also very much overlooked because when we're busy, we don't even have time. We don't even make time to drink something, which is important. Yeah, for sure. For sure. I love that. Awesome. Well, Christine, this has been amazing. Is there anything else you want to end on or add before you wrap up today?
No, just follow tips. Follow me on Instagram. It was Rubio Fit 3. And you get more tips there. So
awesome. Yes, I'll put that in the show notes, guys. Make sure you're following Christine on Instagram. Make sure you're following the Tips with Tony podcast and myself at tips_with_Tony. That's Tony with an I. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to take a screenshot of it, share it on your stories and tag us, share it with a friend. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, definitely hit the subscribe button. A new episode comes out every Tuesday and Thursday. And when you're subscribed, you don't miss a beat. All right. That is it from us today. Thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.